The Asian Avengers, so weak.
Asian Avengers, so weak, so fuckable, bro. You know? Whoa. There's 5 Asian guys together. Wow.
Together. Did you ever go through a stealing phase?
Do I think everyone should have a gun? Maybe.
Or you can look me up. I don't care. I'll fight you. I don't care.
You want to get high as fuck? You like opium?
And welcome back to another episode of Asian Not Asian Podcast, a podcast where two Asian guys not from Asia talk about American issues no American cares about. I am your host, Fumi Abe.
And I'm Mike Nguyen.
Today we're coming at you live from Brooklyn, New York. Today is January 9th, second week into 2021. And shit's been crazy, but before we get into it, if you're listening to this on your podcast, or sorry, your phones right now, please take a screenshot and post it on Instagram stories. Tag us at Asian Not Asian Pod. We love hearing from you. And if you're iTunes listeners, please leave a review. And if you want more content from just me and Mike, go to patreon.com/Asian Not Asian Pod for bonus episodes and nudes and all kinds of good stuff, babies. Check it out.
So many nudes.
A lot of nudes.
Dude, I can't believe you're totally right. It's only the second week of 2021. And I think we had a good first week of 2021 because the first week of 2021 was only Friday and Saturday. It was 2 days long. I was like, this is a banging week, dude. First, second, then third, and then all downhill from there.
Yeah,
so.
I got cocky too. Like I did this thing like I like just turned off the internet for like a little bit just to, chill.
Just be cool.
It's only a couple hours, which isn't that long, but I feel like in my generation, that's a very long time to stay off your phone.
It is.
So I did that, and then I had to like film something with BuzzFeed, so I like logged on and I was like talking to them, and they're like, did you see the news? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then I turn it on, and it's just fucking anarchy in DC, and your people were there.
Yo, shouts. Okay, I was saying this before. All right, I'm so used to seeing talk conversations about diversity in every kind of media that we do that when I was watching the coup attempt, I was watching the C-SPAN and NBC News and everything, and I was like, there is not enough diversity in this coup attempt. Okay, there's just a bunch of white guys. Come on, we've evolved past this. Come on. But then I saw a couple of Vietnamese flags, South Vietnamese, Republic of Vietnam flags, and which is nice of them to be invited, I guess. And of course, there's like confusion and embarrassment and stuff like that. And you saw some other thing. There was like some things with it was like a Filipino symbols and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I tweeted this, and I have to say that Vietnamese people are at this coup isn't surprising because Vietnamese people, we love coups.
That's your thing.
All right, we love coups, and I wanted to like make sure that I was right about this joke, so I Googled this, and you just type in Vietnamese coup, and a page of coups show up. 1960, 1963, 1964. Which, by the way, 1964 has a January coup, September coup, and December coup. I mean, it's not even like an anniversary thing. They're doing it quarterly at this point. Yeah, and 1965.
It's like Googling Michael Jordan MVP,
Yeah.
Chicago.
Which one are you talking about, bro? Yeah. It was wild. So, I mean, Vietnamese people, I'm starting to think that maybe we're actually have been so confused about this democracy thing because we're so used to coups. We're like, we haven't had a solid coup in a while.
Yeah. They just miss home. They wanted to feel nostalgic.
You know what? I haven't had a military junta shoot the president in the back of the head in a while. So let's have a coup. Why not?
Yeah.
So that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, there was like a Vice article and everything like that. And it's funny because like those articles are written like, I think a lot of people were like confused. They're like, why are there Asian people at this coup?
Yeah.
But I know from being friends with you that's your thing. You guys
Vietnamese people. I'm telling you guys. Okay. I mean, it's partially a joke, but partially I'm looking at the history of Vietnam. We don't have democracy. It wasn't like it wasn't like, oh yeah, we're gonna totally like a long tradition with our version of George Washington, and we're gonna. Kick out the British, and then we're going to have a landed gentry, and we're going to have a bicameral legislature, and we're going to have representative government and stuff like that. We didn't have any of that shit. We had the Chinese for a long time. Then we had the French for a long time. A quick cameo by the Japanese.
Hell yeah.
Then the Americans. And so for us, it's like, if anything, democracy is like very strange to us. So we were We were like, let's do
Well,
this Vietnamese style.
you
When somebody said coup, we were just like, dude, we're tailgating.
Okay, this is
All
how
right,
stupid
we know
I
how to do
am.
it.
This is how stupid I am. I didn't actually know what a coup was. I thought I knew what a coup was, but only from like AP history or whatever. I'm like reading
Yeah.
about the French coup in like the 1700s. But like, you know, you were talking about this earlier. A lot of people in Vietnam at the time, they were like generals or army people, and they just had an army at their they had tanks. I
Yes.
feel like if I had 30 tanks and a bunch of dudes following me, like, I might coup. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I might try it. I might try it.
Try a coup.
I might come out as a coup. You know what I'm saying? Like, I might have to do, you know.
Have you tried the coup? It's great. Try the coup. It's
Yeah,
that's what's happening. Yeah, that's what happens,
dude.
and
If you say if a Vietnamese person says, "Have you tried the coup?" White people think it's food, and you know.
Yo, have you tried the coup? It's so spicy, man. Oof, it's so good. Try the January 1964 coup. It's so delicious.
I love
yeah,
it.
it's wild. I think this technically wasn't a coup because of something. I think there weren't enough tanks involved. I don't know what it is. There's like some specific political thing about it, but that is what's happening, and we're so excited to have the guest we have on. I don't know how I'm transitioning from coup to this, but
Well, we're gonna ask him about.
we
the
are
coup.
going to
We're
talk about the coup, and we're just gonna because he's somebody we're very excited to have on. We've been trying to get
him for so long.
for so long.
We love him so much.
We love him so much.
But
He's very funny.
But he does not know who we are, and I'm okay with this relationship. It's very senpai.
That
look
is-
at me.
yes,
that's
yes,
That's
exactly.
kind of my energy, you know.
So right now, we're very excited about the senpai leading the dojo right now. So who's our guest today?
Our guest today is a comedian, writer, actor. You can see him on Netflix's new show called History of the Swear Words, hosted by Nicolas Cage. He's been on Big Mouth. He's got this hilarious podcast called Urgent Care with Mitra Johari on Earwolf. And so please welcome the hilarious Joel Kim Booster.
Yay!
Thank you, guys. I love that transition. Speaking of coups, let's bring on Joel Kim Booster. I'm about to coup this podcast. This podcast is mine now, bitch.
We surrender. This guy's rolling up with the comedy tanks. Oh man, thank you so much. I mean, how are you doing, man? I know you're out
I'm
in LA.
doing good.
How's everything going?
It feels like this has been the longest year of our lives already.
Already?
hasn't it?
I
It's
know.
just like,
Well done.
yeah, it is crazy. It's crazy that like Bean Dad was this year.
Oh
Bean
my
Dad
God.
was the first big news, the first big internet news story trend. Like he was the first villain of 2021.
Right.
And now we've already moved on to a coup. Things escalated really, really fast. From a dad who refused to open a can of beans for his daughter to now there are people sieging the Capitol. It is crazy.
I do miss that. I miss Bean Dad. I'll say it. I'm gonna miss him.
Yeah.
So
Simpler times.
Yeah.
Simpler times.
Did you watch a lot of it? I was like glued to the TV.
I
We were watching
I
a
didn't
lot of
leave my bed like
Oh, fuck.
that entire day, hardly. Yeah, it was a crazy day, and it was weird because I was like, I don't know, it was coming off of the Warnock on Ossoff win, so I was like
Yes,
feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
Like I was like, you know, things are already starting to turn around this year, you know. I was like, and then it was just watching the MSNBC footage of it
Yes.
happening so quickly. I was just like, oh, this is nuts.
Yeah,
That's-
when
yeah.
somebody was like, "Did you see the news?" Because I read about the Georgia thing the morning, and I was like, "Oh no! Like, did people fuck with the election over there? Like, did they
Yeah,
are they not winners?"
Right.
And I could have never imagined this coup thing, but like, people I didn't even know how to search for this on Google because there was just like so much information.
Yeah.
So I literally just typed in like, "Hey, what's happening right now?" Like on Google, because I didn't even know how to like fucking go about this. It was crazy.
I feel if you do type what's happening right now, Google will be like, "Oh, girl, let me tell you about this hot tea right now." You know, 'cause that's that's the energy that is 2021. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. I don't even know where we can start to talk to you. I guess I have a story about how I've met you before. I don't know.
No,
if
I
you-
was
Okay.
I was gonna say really early on. I was gonna say I've actually met one of you, but I won't tell you which
Oh,
one it is.
okay.
And I was hoping to sort of sow the seeds of discord in the podcast early on, but you just sort of blew up my spot.
Oh, I'm
so.
sorry. I've told Fumi about this story many times because I'm just like, I was like, oh my god, I've met him before, and he like touched my hand once, and it was amazing. It was like meeting Jesus, and I could see now. So yeah, it was. I don't know if you remember it because I remember it a certain way. So I remember.
What year was this, Mike? Take us back.
God, I don't know. The first year
had to be 2014 because that's when we started.
2014 when I first started doing comedy. And I was very, very new. I mean, it was like my 3rd month of comedy, and I was like finding my way into the New York comedy scene. And there's a open mic at a bar restaurant called Revision, which is in the East Village. It happened to be really near where I was working, and I didn't know this at the time, but it was like a cool mic and by cool I mean like it was like the mic that you went to kind of flex in front of other comedians.
That Revision 2, that was Christy Coffey's mic, right?
I think so.
Yeah. And that was like, you got a minute and a half.
Yes, very short.
Oh my God.
Super short.
Like, if you went at the end of that mic, it's like you waited 2.5 hours to do 90 seconds.
Yes, exactly. It was packed. There was tons of people.
Yeah.
They never said no to anybody. There's always like 60 people in there. I remember I was always scared of all the mics. I was very scared of all of them. And that one I was really scared of. I just instinctively knew this was like something different. And I remember one time I went and I happened to go first.
Whoa.
I went first. I just happened to go first. And I went up there. And this is probably the only time I've ever done this. But I stopped in the middle of 90 seconds. I stopped at 45. And I was like, I'm sorry. I'm very nervous. I have to go. And I left. I was so afraid. I was just like so afraid of it. And I remember going to this mic and I would see this Asian dude, this cool Asian guy. And I was like, oh man, cool Asian guy. At the time, I was also kind of a cool Asian guy. I had really cool baggy pants on. And I was like, hey, I could be cool friends with this cool Asian guy because I didn't see a lot of Asian people at all.
Yeah, I think it was just you, me, and Brian Yang. Are you sure you didn't meet Brian Yang?
There's no way I could confuse you with Brian Yang. No offense to Brian Yang, I love you. So I remember seeing you, and I was like, I'm gonna be friends with this guy because why not? And I remember you were very funny, and I could tell you were like much more advanced than I was. And I remember I went up to you after I followed you, we both got off the train once at the same time, and I followed you up the train steps. And I was like, hey man, what's going on? You going to Revision, blah blah? And you're like in the zone. You're just like, yeah man, I'm going. I came from my day job, blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah man, what do you think of this mic, man? Isn't it so scary? And he's like, and you said, oh yeah, man, such a good supportive mic. And I was like, what? This is the supportive mic? I'm terrified. And I remember it was like a movie because I stopped in my tracks and you just kept walking and I was just standing there in the sidewalk, just like dripping sweat, like, holy shit, I don't know what I'm doing. So I don't know if you remember it that way. I was probably just annoying you.
I don't remember it exactly that way. I don't remember it being like the moment, but I just remember like you do clock every other Asian person that you see doing stand-up, especially during that period. There weren't a lot of us in New York at the time. And so like, I don't remember like the moment we met, but I just remember you being a part of the fabric of the open mic scene for a time that I was doing it. But what's crazy about that mic is that there was a comic, and I don't want to give them any screen time or air time, so I won't name them. But when Christy was gone, there was a comic that used to run the mic in her stead, and that comic has since gone down like a huge QAnon rabbit hole. And super, super crazy. And was at the siege at the Capitol.
No! Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about. She does stuff with Compound Media, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is like the Anthony Cumia, that shit. Yeah.
And
word.
This comic was also responsible for. Do you remember when Gal Gadot did the Imagine video really early in the
the Imagine
pandemic. Parody? This person did a parody of it, but did kung fu fighting. And it was all about kung fu. I think it was maybe kung
flu. They're saying kung flu fighting. Yeah.
So public enemy number 1.
Whoa.
I've decided.
Whoa.
We will not name them. We will not.
No, we will not. I'll tell you later, Mike. It's just crazy. I thought we used to be friends, and then I saw all the QAnon stuff, and then the kung flu shit, and I was like, what the fuck?
It's such a. I remember them being so normal.
Yes.
And like, a former teacher, like all this stuff, and like, it's nuts. It's nuts how.
Part of me thinks like, is this like just an attempt to get more followers? Because
absolutely.
Is it? Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of column A, column B. I think it was like. it's chicken and egg, you know, like
Yeah.
did they start doing it because they wanted more followers and then got more followers because they were doing it and then just kept doing it, or did they really, you know, get invested in it and then got more followers and was like, oh, I should continue doing this.
That's crazy.
Really
That-
heavily.
What a way to bring it back to the larger thing we were talking about. I thought we were gonna have a nice story about us meeting, and now all of a sudden it's this crazy QAnon thing. And so that's yes. I thank you, by the way, for being extremely diplomatic about how I was a part of the fabric of the scene, and by that I mean crying and running out of the open mic.
Wait, I have a very quick. We have not met Joel, but I remember this is probably before you. I think you moved to LA, or I don't know when you moved to LA, but this is like I think you moved when I was like 2-3 years into comedy.
Yeah.
And I remember you were at a show that I was doing at do you remember the experimental comedy theater?
Oh yeah,
Like
Yes.
way by
The
by like
Experiment, yeah.
by like Peter Luger's. Like
yeah,
that,
it was
that,
down, and the Annoyance was down there too.
Yeah. It was like around there. And I think you were going to do a show after the show that I was doing. And I was like setting up a joke about like something about like, you know, like a lot of Asian guys get disrespected online or something like that. And I think
Yeah.
you had just heard that and you were like, woo! And I was like, hell yeah, that's Joe Kim Booster. and then my punchline was not funny. And I look over and he's like writing down something in his journal. I was like, no, where'd you go, Joel? Where'd you go?
He's writing down. Don't be friends with Fumi.
Yeah. I was dying.
Do not do his podcast 6 years later.
Won't be looking.
I was. That's my Joe Kim Booster memory. But
We knew you as someone who was going somewhere when Fumi and I were first starting, right? But even now, you were saying that like, hey, you did notice other Asian people. Did you, when you first started, and I know you started a while ago, you know, did you first notice Asian people and did you try to do this kind of thing? Because right now, I think now there's like a bigger community of us. Or were you kind of like, you know what, I'm just going to do my own thing? You know?
It's interesting. Like, I don't know if it was a timing thing or if it was me specifically, but
yeah,
I do think that there was a little bit. It's both a gay comedian and as an Asian comedian. I think there was a lot right before I started comedy in like 2011. There was a lot of pulling up the ladder after you, sort of that mindset of like there can only be one. You know,
Yes.
if as both within like other Asian comics and other gay comics, and so that started really changing around like when I started, and I think like, and I made a really concerted effort because and this was maybe partly out of naivete, like when I started, but I was like, when I'd see another gay comedian or another Asian comedian, I would always want to be friends, and I'd always want to be like, you know, let's like join forces, you know, and like and sort of like not adhere to the old rules of like there can only be one. And so I don't know, that started really early in my career, and that sort of was ingrained in me from a really early time in doing comedy. And so I like to think that I've always been sort of open. I mean, that story, Mick, did not make me sound super friendly to you.
It was for me. It was for me an experience and just sort of, you know, trying to. For me, I didn't think of it as like, you know, this guy's not nice. It was to me, you know, I have so much to learn about comedy and how all this works, and you know where are the spaces that I can practice and all these things. But I've always watched you, you know, come up and do different things, and now I wonder if you feel like I think you would say that things are different, but at the same time not different. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting what's changed and what hasn't changed. I mean, there's definitely so many of us now, and it definitely feels like there's room for all of us now. I mean, I like what guys like Will Choi have done with Asian AF. I mean, it's been really incredible. I remember when Asian AF, which is, for those of you who are listening who don't know, it's a really popular Asian comedy show that's a variety. It's got improv, sketch, and stand-up comedians. I remember when that show first started out. It was at the UCB East Theater, RIP, in New York, and they gave them the worst slot imaginable, which was Tuesday nights at 11 o'clock. Tuesday nights at 11 p.m. And still that show, every time I would go or any time I would be on it, was sold out. Was always sold out. And Tuesday at 11 o'clock, because Asian people showed up. because they wanted to see.
Yeah.
There was like a thirst for it. It wasn't even like I feel like part of it was like us as Asian comedians saying like, let's get together and let's create stuff together. Like there's no reason there should only be one of us on the lineup. And then also the community of Asian people who are consuming comedy saying, we want to see a whole show of Asian people. We're tired of just seeing one in these lineups. And so both of those things together sort of come together and created what I think is a really awesome landscape of Asian comedians that we're seeing now today.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure.
Many of us.
I mean,
If
I think
anything, now there's probably too many Asian comedians.
yeah, we gotta vote some
they
of them
gotta
out.
go.
Yeah,
They
come on,
gotta
buddy.
go.
You know?
Yeah, we talked about this with Jenny Yang, but there is like when I first started, there wasn't an Asian AF, and if you were doing an Asian show, it was run by some like old road dog Asian comic, and the
Yeah,
show
yeah,
was
yeah.
called like Chopsticks or whatever.
Oh my
You know?
god, I
You
did
know
a
what I mean?
show. I did a show at New York Comedy Club, and I didn't realize what the premise of it was until I got there. But it was called Rush Hour, and I was like,
oh, no.
okay, like that's fine. I didn't even make the connection, and it was all Asian and Black comedians. That was the premise of the show. Was Asian and Black comedians, and it was called Rush Hour. And I like got there and I clocked the lineup, and I was like, oh.
That is amazing.
Oh my god, did they make you do an accent? Was that
No, nothing. Thankfully, nothing like that. But
Yeah.
it was a different world.
I think that to your point, like there's a lot of emotions around that Asian AF movement because I feel like that pushed, that allowed us to have our little podcast, and we also have a show that, by the way, if you're ever in New York, please come do it after you get the vaccine. But like,
once this happens,
it's like it's packed and it's a good time, and it's a lot of it's a lot of Asian and non-Asian people. But there is certainly a demand for it, and I know there's a demand for it because I remember like around 2016, 17. After I would do a show like that, the DMs that I would get from girls, they weren't like, hey, are you single? It was like, thank you so much for representing Asian community. It was like, I was getting different DMs compared to like my other comedian friends. And I was like, okay.
Well, it's crazy. It's crazy how how the comedy apparatus underestimates how much Asian people want to see themselves represented on stage. Like I remember the first year of Clusterfest, which is a Comedy Central sponsored festival in San Francisco. Which is, that's where we are in America, in San Francisco, the Bay Area. And I remember looking at the lineup, and it was like, the people that were supposed to be there was me, Ronnie Chang, Bowen Yang, Patty Harrison, Aquafina, like. And I noticed, I was like, why aren't any of us on the same show? Like, this is crazy. And so I went to Comedy Central, and I was like, why isn't there an Asian show at this festival? Like, it's in San Francisco. You've got like huge Asian comedian names. Like, there's no reason there shouldn't be a show. And they're like, okay, do you want to do one? And I was like, okay, sure. And that's when I started. That was the first time I did my show, The Joy Fuck Club, at Clusterfest. And the thing is again, they gave us the shittiest space.
Ooh.
They gave us the worst like time slot, like this random afternoon time slot. And what ended up happening is we had the second largest line to get into our show of the entire festival. The only person who had a longer line to get into their show was Tiffany Haddish.
Fine.
That's fair. That's fair.
And I remember
fair.
at Comedy Central, guy coming up to me at the after party and being like, "Yeah, we just didn't realize that this would be such a big deal." And
It's so like that Asian people like to laugh sometimes.
But then also it's like it's San Francisco. It's like you might as well rename it Asian American Gay Community City.
Yeah.
Like that's where everybody is.
Yeah.
If anything, it's weird not to have that on there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And every time I've done it in San Francisco since, it's like been sold out. It's been, just like packed, and it is crazy how they still underestimate it to this day. Like they refuse to believe that Asian people will show up. I gotta say too that the comedy from Asian people has changed a lot in the last 10 years too, just by virtue of there being more of us. And I think by virtue of people like us perform. I mean, I didn't really perform for Asian people until I moved to New York and started doing comedy. There are Asian people in Chicago where I started, obviously, but there weren't a lot of them coming out to comedy shows and performing as an Asian person. For white people, it conditions you to write a certain kind of joke.
Yeah,
about
100%.
being Asian,
100%.
versus performing for people that get it, and or come from the same background as you do or understand the experience. And so it really does change. It changed the way I wrote jokes about being Asian, and from that perspective, and it also having a diversity of voices just within the Asian comedian landscape really forces you to write better jokes. It's not that just the same like tired jokes about being Asian that we have been writing for years because we're only performing for white people. It is like a smarter, it is a deeper, it is a like there's just more depth to the level of joke writing I think that all of us are having to do now because there are so many of us.
That's the thing that people don't realize is like when you support an Asian comedy show like that, you're actually, you know, little by little making the comedians better because you're like forcing us to reassess. It's like, oh, maybe this joke where I just do an accent is not funny, but I did it. This set that I did at Rush Hour at New York Comedy Club, I guess it doesn't work. It doesn't work here because it's offensive.
I always think that there's like a huge depth of jokes that I know will only certain people will get, you know, whether it's Asian or Vietnamese American or whatever it is, that, you know, like for example, how, man, we're Asian dudes, we're always putting blue lights in our car, right? You know, like that's a joke that I feel we get, but then like other people be like, what? But like I have so many things like that I want to say.
Yeah, that is so, I mean, I hate to say it, but that is so true.
I mean, there's so many things I also want to talk. I mean, can we talk about your Quibi show?
Yeah, I mean, which one? Because I was the king of Quibi for a while there.
Flex.
Okay. Let's see here. I have a quote here.
We have a quote here. Well, I think here, I think you were interviewed on Collider or something, and you were kind of talking about, I don't know which show you're talking about exactly here, and you basically said like, you know, you're really thankful that Quibi gave you a chance because you mentioned that, you know, it's difficult for a gay show to get picked up on networks and to get a shot on you. And actually, when I read that part, I guess that's something I never really thought about because I feel like there's a lot of hype and excitement around like queer comedy in general, but I never thought about. I'm like, wait, is there a show with like two gay best friends? I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah. Not a huge one that
Not a huge one. So
I mean, I'd love to hear more about that.
I mean, well, I'll say this, like, I can't really talk about it in full depth yet because the ink hasn't quite dried, but there is a second life to that show. So,
okay. Oh, that's great. That's great.
So I'm really excited and I can't wait to talk about that aspect of it. But I mean, it's hopefully going, fingers crossed, you will still be able to see the show, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, I mean, that whole, it's a movie, I guess, technically speaking, for Quibi came out of really just my friendship with Bowen Yang, and wanting to explore like the intricacies of our experiences as Asian men in the gay community, but also the differences in our experiences as you know, and wanting to say like, you know, there's not one definitive take on what it's like to be gay and Asian in this community. I feel like a lot of people want to pit me and Bowen against each other in certain ways, or it's like, oh, you know, it's that there can only be one mentality again,
right,
you know, like, you know, and that's not, I think like that's just not how Bowen and I see each other, and we don't certainly our viewpoints and point of views are so different too, that like I wanted to really write a story about two gay best friends who are also Asian, and what that is like and how that is different. And it was really exciting that Quibi gave me a chance, and I really hope that, you know, people get to see it still.
Yeah, when Bowen did this podcast, like I guess it was like a year ago, which is fucking crazy. He mentioned that a little bit. He said the way you guys met is like some white dude like put you in a group chat or something and said, "Hey Joel, this is Bowen. He's also gay and Asian. Good luck." Or some shit.
No, I mean literally, you have an incredible memory because that is verbatim what the message said. That like this guy who. Well, I don't want to talk shit, but like he put us on a Facebook message thread that said, "You're both gay and Asian. You should know each other." And I think that really turned me and Bowen off to each other immediately, because just not anything personal against. We didn't have anything against each other, but I think both of us were like, "No, fuck that." Like like we didn't meet for like a full year after that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did his show at the Pit, and that's how we met. But like it was almost a full year probably before that happened, because like I think we were just sort of like put off and being like, oh, this white dude wants us to meet because he thinks that we're the same, but like, so like fuck that, we're not going to meet. And thank God we did, and thank God we did it in our own time and in our own way.
Was there anything in particular that kind of broke the ice for you two, where you're like, wait a minute, we should be best friends? Because like,
I don't know. It was like a slow burn. It certainly wasn't like we met and we were immediately like, oh my god, you understand what it's like.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like one of those situations, because I think we really got to know each other slowly and over time, and certainly like we got to know each other as people before we started having those real deep like, you get it.
Yeah.
Get it. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many times we've been rolling high off of our asses, like
Yes.
in the corner of a club, just being like, you understand me like nobody.
Yo, yes.
I
Yo.
love
And
it.
it's just-
Yo.
I love it. I love it.
You know, I know
you
that.
see me,
yeah.
you see me, I see you. Like
Yes.
that sort of moment has happened many New Year's. I gotta say.
Oh man, Fumi, you and I are gonna do that. Okay,
We're gonna do that. That sounds tight. That sounds fucking tight.
Um,
Let's go to a bathroom together and do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to, understand that more, because for me, me and Fumi, we're always like very into our heads about like straight Asian guys. We're this and that, blah blah blah. Is there, I mean, I'd love to hear from your perspective. What is that deep cut blue light in the car, but for gay Asian guys, queer Asian guys, where it's like, you get it. Can you give me an example of one of those rolling off my asses? Bowen and you are like, yeah, man, this is something that like, whoa, I can't, like people don't even know.
I mean, it's a lot of it has to do with, I guess, like internal gay politics of the ways Asian men are treated. I think, which it mirrors the way that straight Asian men are treated in the heterosexual dating pool. But I just think like there's a lot of othering that happens within the gay community already. Like I think gay men like to put it like if there's one thing gay men love, it's categorization. We have like there's a term for every kind of gay man. Twink, bear, otter, like, and everything in between. Like, and so of course that like comes down to it delineates on racial lines as well. And so there's a lot, just a lot of like discrimination that also happens. And then on the other side of that spectrum is fetishization that happens as well. And so like I think that's where a lot of our connection comes, because like we've dated a lot of the same dirtbags, I think.
Whoa!
Wow!
Or slept with a lot of the same skeezes, and so we've experienced both sides of that, of just like having people sort of discriminate against us because we're Asian, and then having people that are a little too into the fact that we're Asian and feeling sort of trapped and feeling like, is it only going to be one of these, one or the other for the rest of our lives? Are we ever going to find someone who just treats us like a human being and doesn't see, I don't want to say doesn't see our race, but like it's a one part of ourselves, not just like the entirety of our identity.
Can I ask you about that? Because I feel that, no, you're absolutely right. I think there are a lot of shared experiences between like a straight Asian guy and a queer Asian person, just like in the context of like romance and dating and stuff like that. And it's weird for like, I always talk about this with like Brian Park, this is something that's happened to us. It's like, you'll be talking to a girl, she's not Asian, you think things are vibing, and you look at the background of her phone, and this is before BTS was popular. It'll be like, this is like if you had a K-pop band in like 2015, like it makes you go like, it just makes you go like, what? Like,
exactly.
I think the narrative is very clear with Asian women, because if an Asian woman was talking to a white guy and he had a fucking geisha on his background, she'd be like, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. But I feel that the narrative is not so clear with Asian men, queer or straight, and like, I just kind of wondered like, how does one sort of, how would you handle something like that, and or like have you encountered stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think like it is always a little. I always get my hair stands on end when I like am talking to a guy and then I go through his Instagram and like all of his exes are Asian.
Yeah.
His friends are Asian, and I always wonder like what is going on there, and like. And that is always like that. Yeah, it's tough. But I will say that like it's changing a lot. I think maybe also being in the West Coast, it is a lot different, I will say, because there are a lot more people of all races that grew up around Asian people. And it sort of erases the otherness of it a little bit. Like they're just used to it. They see us as regular people, instead of this like exotic otherized sort of race of human being. And so like there's a lot, like I think like it really does matter, like when you're young, like who's colonizing your desires. And I think like when you're growing up around hot Asian people in LA or San Francisco, it really does sort of change the way you develop as an adult. And so I think that's one thing that I've experienced out here. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much, like if a guy asks me where I'm really from, within like the first 24 hours of knowing them, then like that's a red flag for me.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like, what do you, no one, why do you care?
Right.
Yeah.
What does that add dimensionally to our relationship at this early of a stage?
Right,
It just doesn't
Is
seem-
he gonna like go into the back and change his T-shirt to like another thing that is a little bit more appropriate
it's
to your
like-
culture? Like, oh, this informs where we're gonna go on our second date. You have to tell
Yeah.
me.
Listen, Mike, you know me on the podcast, I like to laugh like an insane person, spread joy through jokes and
Yes.
inappropriate comments. But is that how I feel on the inside in 2020? Absolutely not, Mike.
No, man.
It's a dark mess in here, dude. Sometimes I'm really sad. Sometimes I'm a little depressed. I'm really stressed. And I think a lot of people with the pandemic, they're not really sure about job security. And that's a huge source of stress for a lot of people. And I think if any of our listeners feel this way, they should check out our sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist.
Connect in a safe and private online environment. It's so convenient.
You can start communicating in under 24 hours.
This isn't self-help. It's professional counseling.
Send a message to your counselor anytime.
You'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions.
Woo! All without ever having to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room. You know how those waiting rooms can be, bro.
BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if you need it.
And it's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available.
Licensed professional counselors who specialize in depression, stress, anxiety, relationships, sleeping, trauma, anger, family conflicts, LGBT matters, grief, and self-esteem.
I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/Asian. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Asian. Well, you know me, Mike. You know me, right?
I
And
know.
You know.
I know.
If you know
Dude.
this, if you know anything about me, you know that I'm out there.
Yes. You're out there.
I'm out there pounding, and a lot of people are like, "Fumi, why are you so good at pounding?" And by a lot of
Why?
people,
Yeah. I always ask that. I don't even believe you.
By a lot of people, I just mean Mike. The secret is, it is Helix Sleep Mattress. Helix Sleep has a quiz that takes just 2 minutes to complete and matches your body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you. Why would you buy a mattress made for someone else? With Helix, you're getting a mattress that you know will be perfect for the way you sleep and pounding.
Everybody's unique and pounds uniquely, and Helix knows that. So they have they have several different mattress models to choose from. They have soft, medium, and firm. Wink, wink. Mattresses. Mattresses great for cooling you down if you get hot, and even a Helix Plus mattress for plus size sleepers. Because hey, man, everybody needs love.
Just go to helixsleep.com/Asian. Take their 2-minute sleep quiz, and they'll match you to the customized mattress that will give you the best sleep/pound of your life.
They have a 10-year warranty, and you get to try it out for free for 100 nights, risk-free. They'll even pick it up for you if you don't love it, but you will.
Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helix.com/Asian.
That's helix.com/Asian for up to $200 off. And when you're doing your threesomes, 2 free pillows.
Now back to this.
Recently, you won, your podcast won a Golden Crane Award, right?
which I did not even know existed until
yeah. So, funny story. I was one of the judges
no way.
for that. I didn't judge your podcast. Just FYI, I didn't judge your podcast, but I was one of the judges, and it was like a last minute thing. And it was for people who don't know, it's for the Asian American podcasting. I want to make sure I'm getting this right.
You're a judge and you don't even know.
That's how new it was. Asian American podcasters, right? And it's a Golden Crane Award, and there's a bunch of different categories for it. And I will say that I had to listen to a lot of podcasts for this, and I listened to a bunch of different kinds, and a lot of them are podcasts which are just trying to get up and running, but it was interesting because I known that you had urgent care for a while. I have to admit I hadn't listened to it, but I listened to it along with a bunch of other ones, and it was cool because while I'm familiar with your comedy, I got into the feel of your show very quickly, right? Because you and your co-host have such a strong thing. Like, it's clear that you guys have a whole banter back and forth with each other.
Right.
Do you and Fumi and I are always trying to think about this, like what's our point of view? We like have long text messages about like what is our point of view, because sometimes we don't know. Have you had a struggle with that too as you go along, whether it's like a comedy point of view or whatever, as you've done this? Yeah.
I mean, like it's easier, I think, for us too, because we have a very clear conceit, which is the advice. Yeah. It's an advice podcast, which I don't know if we've mentioned that yet. And it is like, it's like Love Line, but it's us. And so that helps a lot because it gives us sort of a direction already to move towards. But it took us a while to sort of like figure out, to get our footing in terms of like tonally what the comedy of the podcast is, I think, because like it was sort of arbitrary. I just asked Mitra if she wanted to do a podcast with me, and then we sort of landed on advice. And then I've known Mitra for a long time and we're really good friends, but like we haven't worked together a ton as comedians. And so a lot of it was like figuring out what that rapport is, and like what, like how goofy is it, how genuine is it. I think it ended up working out perfectly because we both sort of balanced like wacky with like sort of earnestness. I think I would say, which you sort of need for an advice podcast like ours. And so I think like that it was a real balance. It's always a balancing act between those two things. And I think that was the biggest struggle, was like figuring out like how earnest do we want to be handling some of these like really, dark issues that people are writing into, and how absurd do we want to be in dealing with that. And so that's been sort of the journey of our podcast, and we're still figuring it out. I mean, we're only about a year in, and so we're still, feeling that out and figuring out.
Do you know like kind of like what your fans look like? Because we're not that big, but we have some fans and we know what they look like, and it's always interesting to see like other people's podcast fan bases to see if they look like you, kind of.
I will say I don't know like physically how they look, but we have a very specific makeup of like, it is, there are the number of bisexual women that write into our podcast and specifically like flag for us. And we noticed it early on. We were like, wow, there's a lot of bi women that listen to this podcast. And then when we said that on the podcast, now every time a bi woman calls into the podcast,
I love
they
it.
immediately say like, I'm another bisexual woman. And so like we tend to do like 5 calls per episode. And I would say about like 2 to 3 of them each episode are bi women.
What do you think it is?
I don't know what about us appeals to the bisexual community, but we get a ton. I mean, there's a lot. I think like a lot of it is like our specific fan bases brought together, and so like there's a lot of like comedy nerd, like improvisers from in college that listen, and then there's a lot of like queers and Asian people that listen from that I brought in, and so there's a lot, there's a mix, but that definitely stood out to us, is that the number of bisexual women.
That's so funny because yesterday, Mike, we were talking about, because we had like a live stand-up show on Zoom, and we were like looking at our audience, and I don't know, something like there was like a medical thing that was happening, and we like joked, it's like, is there a doctor in here? Like, can you actually help? And then there wasn't any, and there were a lot of Asian people, and then we're like, you know what? That's not really our vibe. Like our fans aren't like lawyer doctor Asians.
We don't have the doctor.
No, they're like blowing glass and shit. You know what I mean? They got tattoos. Like it's like so different.
Yes,
like,
a different.
They're like
different
Asian
thing.
guys. They're like Asian people who've done anal a bunch of times. Like that's kind of it's like different.
That's what we mean by blowing glass.
that.
By the way, that's the new phrase. That hey man, you guys been blowing glass?
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Love that.
We honestly love it. We love seeing fans like that. It kind of like solidifies it kind of reassures us like, oh, maybe the stuff that we talk about is not like traditional stuff, but maybe people can relate to it. It definitely feels good.
If there's a million shows that are drawing in Asian audiences, and you've found a specific niche within the Asian American
glass
audience.
Blowing Asians. That is the one, very narrow. I mean, I wanted to also talk about this because about the whole voice thing, because as comedians we're trying to do that like on stage as well. Like, what's your comedic voice, I guess you could say. And I read this interesting quote. This was in context of like somebody of you kind of, pushing back on people gaslighting you on like, if you want to have a, well, let's have a diverse group of people on stage, and somebody might say, well, why don't you just have funny people? And then, you were trying to push back and say, well, there are a lot of funny people. What else can you bring? Yeah.
That's the given. Like if I'm booking a show, like
it's given.
Everyone's going to be funny. And there are I'm not like saying I'm booking diverse like slots doesn't mean I'm like not taking into account if someone's fucking funny. Like that is so ridiculous to think about. But it's also like what kind of funny? Like, and also like I'm not even just looking at diversity markers of like race and gender and sexuality either. I'm looking at like when you're putting together a show, it should feel texturally different from comic to comic. And sometimes that means that it's going to be like comedically, and sometimes it's going to be point of view, and all of that is like a holistic view of looking at the diversity of a lineup.
Well, I think to just kind of bring it back to that experience you had with Clusterfest, how I think for a long time people were like, we can't have more than 2 Asian people or 1 Asian person on a show. They'll probably do the same jokes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now we've done tons of shows where it's we had a comedy festival, Asian comedy festival here, and if you go to any given show, it's all like different kinds of Asian people, Asian comedians, and any given show, 5 different comics, completely different, wildly different, not just point of view, just like styles, storytelling versus one-liners, weird or not weird, all these different things. So it feels like, of course, they would be completely different. To your point, obviously they would be funny. That's just that's a given. Everybody in New York is good.
Yeah. I mean, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was gonna say, just to add to that, like if you listen to this podcast with Joel and then you go back and listen to Bowen's, you might as well like yes, you guys are both Asian and gay, but Bowen is talking 90 minutes about Final Fantasy. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
Like it's just like so different. The vibe is it doesn't even matter that you guys both like men. It literally has nothing to do with anything.
And you,
we both like Final Fantasy too. If you want to get into it, I can get into fucking Final Fantasy too.
Well, I was gonna say also, this whole time you've been drinking this, after post-workout drink, so LA, just being beautiful, and just like, oh yeah, let's talk about Final Fantasy. I want to do this. I hope this is okay. So you have a podcast, and it's called Urgent Care, and you do all sorts of advice. And to your point, it is surprisingly touching. I was like listening to it, and it's very funny. And then there's I would say like hidden tenderness to it too. Yeah. There's, because you are trying to help these people who get into sometimes hilarious, sometimes like painful situations. But we have a thing we wanted to do. Fumi has a funny thing, and he would like to pose it to you, and we can do kind of like a small urgent care here.
Okay.
If that's cool.
Small
I don't know how
no
else to put
copay.
it. No copay.
No
Yeah,
copay.
exactly.
No copay. No copay. Well, okay. So I just wanted to do a quick advice segment with you. It's not that funny to me. This is actually like an issue I'm having, and I just wanted to like pose it to the people in this podcast. Mike, are you still there? Did you leave? What happened?
This green screen is really tripping.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Okay, I've got a question for you. Okay. Also, before we start, I know we've been talking about very touching, emotional, wonderful things, but I just gotta let you know, Joel, I was being polite because I don't know you, but inside I'm a very horny, respectful man. Okay, and this is I'm just always horny, and so this question is very horny. So please don't let that put you off. So, okay, here's my question. All right, I have been with my partner for 6 years, and quarantine. Mike recently got me a fleshlight as like a joke. It's in my house. It's in our living room. We're like joking about it. It's funny, haha. And she actually went to Trader Joe's one time, and she's like, "You can use your fleshlight now because I'll be gone for a couple hours." So I used it. She came back. We were like, "How was it?" We're talking about it, and then she asked me like what kind of porn I watched, or like she asked me what kind of porn I was into. And I do watch a lot of porn, and I go through a lot of phases. So whatever I say now is not what I'm going to be into 3 months from now.
For sure, yeah.
But
exactly
at the same time, it is a little weird, I think, and it's not that weird. But the thing is, my girlfriend does not watch porn, and I thought it would like freak her out because the analogy I give is like she doesn't watch porn at all. So if I told her what I like right now, it's kind of like trying to explain like what a Tesla is to an ant. Like I don't think like they're not gonna. It's just too like they're not gonna understand the vocab I'm using. Like why?
There's too much backstory.
Yeah. You're like on season 9, and she's not even at season 1. You haven't read any of the books. Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to tell you. It's like whatever. It's nothing too crazy. And then she got kind of upset that I wouldn't tell her. And then I was like, wait a second. When it comes to the kink and stuff like that, if you're with a partner or whoever, like, where do you draw the point? Just because you're with somebody, like, do you have to be telling each other everything all the time? Specifically, like, sort of things you're into in terms of porn. Is there? I don't know why I feel this way, but there was a part of me that's like, no, that's kind of my thing. That's kind of something that I've had hold on to since middle school. Like this is just me and the computer and like nobody else. So there was that aspect of it, but I just wanted to ask you guys both and predominantly Joel to see if that was weird that I didn't want to tell her, and if people should be communicating these things constantly.
Also, Joel, if you could indulge us and give Fumi a hilarious nickname like you do on the show. Because so people don't know, on Urgent Care, you and Mitra give all the callers hilarious nicknames, which is like honestly one of the best parts of the whole thing. So if you can, I would love it.
Wow. Okay, so we've got porn, we've got fleshlight. Well, and so many and so many of the names on Urgent Care stem from puns on pronouns too.
Yes.
So, and it's so hard to do this without Mitra because you don't understand how much dead air is cut out from this. Because
100%.
We go back and forth and we're like, okay, fleshlight. What rhymes with light? And begging our producers to just cut out dead air time.
Well, no pressure. I mean, it's fine.
No. I want to do it, but you might have to cut out a lot of dead air. Okay. And think.
We can workshop it if you like.
Yeah. I feel like we're like rap battling, but with like.
Well, I feel like it has to come around. Fleshlight is really sticking out to me as it. So I think, and sometimes they're bad, and sometimes it is literally just like Captain Fleshlight. And that I think, and we have now reached the point in the podcast where it's like, even if it's bad, that's just the first thought has to go in. So Captain Fleshlight.
Captain Fleshlight. Yeah, I think it works. It works with our coup theme as well.
It does.
It really
does work with the coup theme. Congratulations, Captain Fleshlight.
I think that it is. There's a lot of answers to this, and I think it really depends on the relationship, and it depends on why you don't want to tell her. You really have to go back to the reason she wants to know and the reason you don't want to tell her. And there are different answers depending on what those reasons are for me. Like if you're not wanting to tell her based on in shame, I think it could be really like a fun exercise for you to tell her. And if she's asking you out of insecurity, then that's something she needs to work out. If she's just genuinely curious and wants to bring you guys closer by knowing this, then I think that could be really healthy for you to at least open that door a little bit. And like shed a little bit of light. Maybe not like the full slate of every single subgenre that you're into, but
like a cook synopsis.
But I think it could be. You never know. I mean, 6 years. You might need it might be like a nice jump start to be like, okay, let's watch some porn together. Like this is what I like. And I've done that before with partners. I've watched porn, the porn that I like with them, and it is like, well, sometimes it can be like it happened semi recently, but I like shared this porn video that I really liked, and they were like, this is boring, and I was like, no. I was like, this sucks.
That's my fear.
I was like, you're coming for my taste now. It's not even like this is sick and disgusting. This is boring.
It's like when you show someone a show you're really into, like, hey, check out this part. This part's sweet, and he's just like, boring. They're just having a threesome. Boring. Yeah. That's so funny.
So that's like I would interrogate that a little bit more of like why you don't want to tell her, and I would ask her a little bit of like why she wants to know too. Because if it's just like general curiosity and from what you say, like that it's something for you, I think that's totally fair to have something that is for you. But I think like figuring out, what you can tell her that doesn't ruin that for you, that still satiates her need to know, is probably where you want to land in like some happy medium.
What a thoughtful answer that you just improv.
That was so good.
That was really, really good.
Ours are so stupid. Yeah.
I will ask her, but I think on my end, I think maybe it's a little insecurity on my part because I just know that like she's not as like horny as I am in life, like just in life, and it's just I just feel like it's gonna be a lot, and I don't think she's gonna be boring, but I don't want her to feel like that's what she's gonna do to make me happy,
Right.
because I'm happy with what she's currently doing. The current plan is good, but I'm
The
just
current plan. You don't have to go up to the
No,
the next
yeah,
5G.
yeah.
The more data plan.
Well, I was gonna say she seems pretty cool with the fleshlight, so I don't know why like moving up a level to like the porn.
my
Well,
friend-
she knows it was from me. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it's like
also-
a family gift.
But fleshlight is like a fleshlight is like it's a stupid.
Disgusting to clean. first of all. Let
Oh
me
my
tell
God.
you, I have
Oh,
one
yeah.
as well. And
Oh my God.
Whenever I walk out to my kitchen and I see it in the drying rack, I'm always like, just like a disembodied ass, like just sitting in my drying rack. I'm always like, oh God, I gotta stop using this thing.
I was literally last week we filmed like a review video of it, and I was just like, where do you fucking put this? The drying rack? It turns out that's where you put it. That's really where people are putting it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love. Yeah, you just have a bunch of cute martini glasses, and then your flashlight as well.
Yeah.
Fleshlight.
It's like, oh yeah, I gotta hang this up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just very quickly, I think, I'm taking all your advice for Fumi as well for me, because I think it does depend. Sometimes, I want, her to realize that like this isn't personal. This is like my thing I am doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to do this, and like I almost think of it as like sometimes I would just want to eat junk food. Like this is not about your
Yeah.
cooking. This is about me wanting to eat junk food in a
Well,
way.
and
Yeah.
I think there's like this big pressure for people, especially in monogamous relationships, to need to be everything for
Yes,
their partner.
exactly.
And that's just not
No.
realistic. For most people, it's not realistic. You're not going to be someone's best friend and their fuck doll and their
Yeah. Yeah.
their priest and their doc. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to be everything for everybody, for your partner. And so like a healthy understanding of that and a healthy distance of being like, okay, there are some needs I can't meet, and that's okay.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
is I think important to reach.
I think too. I mean, I have thought about watching stuff with my wife together, but I sometimes wonder if there's not like really a bunch of porn that's like, at least I don't know of, where it's like, let's watch this as a couple. It's hard enough for me and Gina to find a Netflix show. It took us forever to find Bridgerton. Okay, like we were like, I don't know, we should watch Bridgerton, and then we ended up watching the whole thing. What's the Bridgerton of porn where I could like get into this and it's a little something for her, a little something for me, what high production values?
Yeah, she
because
gets
it's usually just for one person. Like porn is made for. I mean, I think in general, made for one person.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like, hey, hey, everybody get together and we're gonna
Yeah.
watch the new episode of whatever.
I'm
it is.
literally picturing you like watching something and you pause it and then you keep watching when she goes to the bathroom and she gets mad because you
Yeah,
you
exactly.
keep watching.
You already watched the cum shot.
Yeah.
I am real excited about this next product because it is perfect for anal. I'm talking about Asian, non-Asian listeners, but also I'm talking about the actual butthole.
Yes.
Okay. It's hard to believe that when we go to the bathroom in this country, most of us wipe instead of wash.
Gross. For years, bidets have been available but hideously expensive, costing thousands of dollars. Really? That's crazy.
What? That's so crazy. The Hello Tushy modern bidet attachment is here to democratize the blessings bestowed by bidets and offer clean buttholes to everyone.
Hello Tushy cleans your butt with a precise stream of fresh water. It sounds like an Evian ad for just $79.
Wow, it attaches to your existing toilet, requires no electricity or additional plumbing,
Whoa.
and cuts toilet paper use by 80%.
Wow.
So the Hello Tushy bidet pays for itself in a few months.
Because with Hello Tushy, you don't wipe at all. Even the best two-ply just can't cut it when it comes to the hands-free poop experience.
Yo, ditch paper products and uncomfortable chafing when you switch to the soothing, cleansing stream of water from a Hello Tushy bidet attachment.
And every Hello Tushy bidet attachment comes with a 60-day risk-free, risk-free, what kind of risk are we talking about? Risk-free guarantee
hey.
and a 12-month warranty.
Join millions of happy Hello Tushy customers right now and have a clean butt with every flush.
Go to hellotushy.com/ANA to get 10% off.
This is a special offer for our listeners. Go to hellotushy.com/ANA for 10% off.
hellotushy.com/ANA. Dude, 2020 has been
Yo,
crazy.
Fuck 2020.
It's been a very shitty year. And you know what? You know what makes 2020 really bad? It's not the COVID. It's not the fact that I lost my job. It's that I've been real stinky. I'm a stinky man.
You are the stinky man. That's why we do our podcast recordings remotely.
Oh, that hurts
because then I can be
my feelings.
Good, because you smell terrible.
Well, I think that in 2021, I like to change that so we can start recording together again. I think it's time to change things up, and I think I need to start with Hawthorne. Hawthorne is a premium tailored personal care brand that's making it easy for guys to feel and smell your best.
It's really easy. You start with their quiz. On this quiz, they ask you things like, what's your favorite drink? How do you like to spend a night out? Where do you like to go? That sort of stuff. It's actually really fun. I love talking about myself. You answer all these quizzes. It's pretty short. It's pretty simple. And the products I got are awesome. I got 2 kinds of cologne. I got some shampoo. I have this really cool deodorant because I am also a stinky boy. And I think it really helps. You got to take care of your beautiful Asian skin.
Wow, not gonna lie, didn't know people who shave their heads use shampoo. But if you want to upgrade your self-care routine, Hawthorne is a fun and convenient way to get super high-quality products tailored specifically for your needs.
Hawthorne even takes the risk out of it by giving you free shipping on your orders and returns. And if you don't like your products, they'll even retailer them for you based on your feedback.
Do what I did. Take Hawthorne's quiz today and get started on your personalized self-care routine by going to hawthorne.co and use promo code NOTAsian to get 10% off your first purchase. That's HAWTHORNE.co. Promo code NOTAsian. Hawthorne.co. Promo code NOTAsian.
Welcome back to everyone's favorite segment. It is
Das Race News.
And we are with our guest, Joel Kim Booster. So, this is, my God, so many. Okay. If you want to talk about what a week it was, okay, we had Bean Dad, we had a coup, and then we had this thing, which everybody was sending us.
We get so many DMs about this.
So many DMs, emails, like Patreon messages. People were like sending me things on Twitter, tagging me on things, So, of course, we have to talk about it. What happens? The 3 white women
from Dallas, Texas.
Started a company and released something called Mahjong Line, and it is a bunch of how would you describe it?
It's mahjong. It's mahjong. Yeah. But it's
mahjong
just
tiles.
It's mahjong tile, but the thing is, it's like $400.
Yeah, through a Gwyneth Paltrow lens.
100%. Yeah.
Yes, and it's based on all this design, and they're charging up to $425 per set. And yeah, it is. I tried not to click through to too much of it, but I saw a lot of pictures, and it is very goopy.
Well, I think the thing that really rubbed people the wrong way, and I think that's why it got a lot of attention, is because in the description they said something like, Kate, of course her name is fucking Kate. Kate was the one Kate discovered that the artwork of the traditional tiles, while beautiful, was all the same and did not reflect the fun that was had when playing with her friends, and nothing came close to mirroring her style and personality. So, she was kind of shitting on the original design, saying it doesn't have a lot of personality, which is like the meanest thing you can say to an Asian person. So I think that's really what's, what kind of like that's kind of what inspired everything like that.
Yeah, I was reading about this, and I was like, you know what? I want to give this Kate person a chance. Maybe she did a lot of research and is real bedded in Mahjong culture or whatever. And I was reading it, and it says that she brought in 2 other founders, Annie O'Grady and Bianca Watson. And I was like, nope, that's like just went even whiter, and I don't even know what happened there. So yeah, they're all they're trying to refresh this thing. It's something that we saw something similar where in New York City, somebody was trying to have a clean version of Chinese food. They opened a restaurant that was clean Chinese food, with the sort of insinuation that Chinese food, and they were saying that it makes you dirty and it makes you feel gross or whatever. I don't know. What you must have seen this, Joel. What were your thoughts?
I mean, my first thought was like, who introduced this woman to Mahjong in the first place? Like, that's what I want to know. Is like where in Dallas, Texas, is this woman, this white woman, like casually playing Mahjong? Like, I don't think I've ever encountered Mahjong like just casually in the wild before.
No. Yes.
Like, it's not. It's just not. I don't know. That's my first question, and like whoever introduced it to her, like, why?
Yeah, let's find that guy.
Let's find that guy. I do think that is what's hitting this. I was trying to think about it, and I was trying to really think about why this was bothering a lot of people, because if you had come to me and said, what is one of your biggest values? I would not have said Mahjong. I mean, Vietnamese people aren't really that even. I mean, they are, but they're not. It's not. But it's not like one of our pillars. Like it's not who. Whatever. But this really like set a lot of people off. And I think, something you mentioned, Joel, is that it is like Mahjong is like deep Asian. It is like inner sanctum Asian. To you don't come across it even as an Asian person. We're not going to get boba and then playing Mahjong with all of our friends. That is like some like, once you go to sleep, your grandma is still awake because she's a thug and she's going to go and play Mahjong with other grandmas,
Well, I will say that this story really was illuminating to me of how many of my friends actually do know how to play Mahjong.
Oh yeah.
The outrage that this sparked, I was like, oh damn. I was like, this is like not just like people generally upset by the appropriation of it, but by people who genuinely love Mahjong. Yeah. And like they were like, my grandma taught me how to play this game.
Wow.
And I love it. And I've had a couple of friends on the timeline that have said that, and I'm like, oh wow, I did not even realize that Mahjong was a part of your life,
Yes.
Like, I just thought it was the game they played in Crazy Rich Asians.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I think what happened is she probably watched Crazy Rich Asians this year, which is very problematic. Okay, it's been out for 4 years. So somebody get her, and then she watched it and she was like, I wonder what that is. And I think that's how she stumbled upon Mahjong, because you're right.
It's definitely the biggest cultural, like pop cultural moment that Mahjong has had.
So one thing that's interesting is while I was reading about this is that there is a variant which I think they are playing called American Mahjong.
Oh,
did you know this? There's another version.
So they're changing the rules.
Yeah.
So they weren't even the first people to colonize Mahjong.
The original colonizers colonized it probably with guns, and then and this is the refresh. This is the refresh colonized version. I don't know all the rules. I don't know how to play regular Mahjong. So, but I think what's funny is that I think there's American Mahjong, and I think it's like simplified in some ways or what have you.
Yes,
but
definitely.
It's definitely simplified. But I think the other thing that was sort of, whenever there's like a refresh or a groupification of this, there's an implicit thing that the original one is too Asian. I think there's like, it kind of feels like, oh well, this would be much. What's so great? The worst thing about Asia, all the Asians. God, you can only get rid of them.
Absolutely.
So that's the feel I get when something like this comes out. And it's not even like they worked with a bunch of, again, like the Chinese community to do something.
They could have saved themselves a lot of headaches by just having one Asian girl on the founding team.
I just one Grace Chen in there.
Sometimes I legit do not understand the brains of how these people how did no one stop them? If Mike and I were releasing our own daishiki lines for what if this podcast failed and we're like, we gotta go daishiki because we said if comedy doesn't work, we're going daishiki. So if we somebody in our life would have been like, do you think you might want somebody from Africa to be there, just even for the pictures or something? Somebody, my sister would stop me. Somebody in my life would stop me. They got this far. They got investors. They did the design. Not one person stopped them, and that's what's truly so baffling to me.
I hope that they were introduced to Mahjong by an Asian person, and that Asian person sort of stood back and was like, go ahead, go ahead. Absolutely.
No, go ahead, go for it. Yeah, no, make an Instagram account. It'll be great. Yeah. Anyways, we'll be buying one of these sets. It'll be fun. We'll put it along with the fleshlight. So, check out or don't check it out.
Don't check it out.
Let's see. It'll be great.
So based on this article, we'll just play a very quick game, just one round of. It's called Culture Exchange, and inspired from this article. We wanted to ask you. Okay, if they get Mahjong from Asian culture or Chinese culture, what do we want from white culture? Is there something from white culture that we would just love to make either Asian or Korean or whatever
more
it is?
Asian. What is something? So they get Mahjong, but we get something in return.
Cultural exchange.
Cultural exchange. Okay. So what is the thing where we get that? Was there anything, Fumi, that comes up top of your head? Where you're like, this isn't me now, but I always thought skateboarding was really cool. That's a cool white guy thing. I just remember in middle school,
all the girls like the skateboarding kids, and like that's a very, I mean, like of course there are Asian and black and Latino skaters who are like performing at world levels and stuff, but I do think skateboarding, that was
Skateboarding is now an Olympic sport too. It was supposed
Right.
to.
right.
This year, yeah.
But
I could see that being tight.
I do think
if-
it was a white invention. Yeah.
I think it would be tight then. Okay, so then what happens is, okay, there can be this this American Mahjong line, but now there's going to be a Chinese grandma version of skateboarding. I think that's the way it has to be. You know, it has to be, you know, it's got like a handle and stuff like that, and where she can hang her visor or something like that.
The skate park all have like these rails you can like
Yeah, it
hold
has
onto for
rails
grandmas.
and stuff like that. They can all like,
Wheelchair
you know,
accessible.
Yeah, there's slots at the at the park now. There's there's gambling.
yeah.
Why not throw it in there? You know, I think that's cool.
This is not the game, but you know what I'm surprised has not been fully taken over by white people yet, considering where the trends are, is Chinese astrology. Like regular astrology is like so in the zeitgeist right now in such a major way. I cannot believe that Chinese astrology has not been overrun by people with like Instagram. Like that is the next thing that's gonna get stolen is Chinese astrology. Straight up.
Let me tell you, so there's 100% somewhere out there. A Mary Beth is doing it. Okay, she's getting ready to. She's getting the money. She's getting the money to launch this line.
Yeah.
We've kind of started to. I mean, Korean people I think have been really killing it with this, but I think we should get cheese. We don't have enough cheese in Asian dishes.
I love cheese.
But Korean people, they put cheese in some soups, like in the Korean army stew. They put like cheese in there. Oh my God, man! The things we could do if we got access to cheese. You know, like give us. You know what I'm saying? It's like
many of us can't handle cheese. Though.
Many of us can't.
I know.
But that's the thing. That's what I want. I want the gene for cheese or whatever. Gene processing for cheese. We get cheese. And then can you imagine the shit we could get into? The shit that, people could do? Yeah, that would be great.
I think that's the problem is people are already getting into shit. When
Hey.
My thing is I think we should take red hair.
Shit! Ooh, baby, that's a good one. And you know what? I can tell you've thought about that for a long time. You want that Asian recessive gene. I know. I feel you.
Exactly.
Dude, we should have a recessive gene where like every fourth child has a different kind of hair color.
Aren't there some Japanese people with red hair?
We have like my aunt has like straight up brown hair, like light brown.
Naturally,
hair. Naturally.
I mean, my hair is brown. Is like
really?
Brown, especially in the summer. Yeah, it's like dark brown, and then it lightens up in the summertime. And people always think I dyed or like got highlights or something like that. But it is like there is like a spectrum of hair colors in Asia, but I don't think that like ginger red is one of them.
Yo,
nice.
A redhead Asian, so hot, dude. I love it.
Dude, a redheaded cheese-eating skateboarding Asian. That's where we're at, baby.
The future.
The future.
I love it. All right. And that was our podcast, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Joel, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on. We had so much fun. Where can our listeners find you and your work?
You can find me. All my social media handles are I Hate Joel Kim. You can watch Big Mouth or History of Swear Words on Netflix. Check out my Comedy Central special. Or any of like all my clips are on YouTube too. So
damn.
Hell yeah. And you can also find us on the social media at Asian.AsianPod. And I'm also on there at the Fumi Abe. That's TheFumiAbe.
And you can find me on Instagram at Nice Pants Bro.
Please support our Patreon page if you want more bonus content. We've got bonus monthly episodes. We have extra race news. We just put up random videos on there. And if you donate money, we give you a shout out on the podcast and we slide into your DM. So it's a good time. Check that out at patreon.com/Asian.AsianPod. And we also have a Zoom stand-up comedy show that, Joe, if you ever want to do it, I know some people don't want to do Zoom shows, but it's good. We had like 100 people yesterday. It's a good time.
It's fun. Super fun.
We do it every other week, so we'll have fun, reach out to you. But come check that out. The next one's going to be, what is the next one? January 22nd. So go to Asian.AsianPod.com for tickets. It's always a good time. I think that might be it, right, Mike?
I think that's it, baby.
All right. Well, Joel, thank you so much. Anals, thank you so much for listening. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye. And we are back with our monthly Patreon shout outs. If you don't know what we're doing right now, we always give a shout out on the podcast to the newest members of our Patreon crew. So if you want to check that out, go to patreon.com/Asian.AsianPod for access to bonus episodes that come out monthly. In addition, we just kind of release a bunch of random shit on there like nudes. And by nudes, we mean our stand-up comedy sets where we bomb. But
Nice.
hey, just as good. So now we're going to play this game where we guess our new members' ethnicity based on their last name. Honestly, we've been doing this podcast since 2018. It was funny in 2018. I feel by 2022, we're going to get canceled for this segment. Like, it's getting there, you know?
If anything, though, it's just we're getting too good at it. You know, they might upload our brains into some sort of database analysis thing where you can, like, now the government can tell, oh, okay, you know, which Lee is this one? This Lee is coming from Taiwan. You know,
yeah.
It's too dangerous. It's getting too dangerous.
We're getting too good, but here we go. Oh, this person, I'm so glad she donated. I think I met her or I saw her at a Zoom show. It wasn't even a Hack City show, just a random Zoom show. Fan Kong, Kong.
Kong, and then how do you spell the first name?
Fan, like the
fan, like
the
a
fan.
power fan.
That's Chinese as fuck, bro.
That's Chinese as hell.
That's so Chinese.
And Monster Island, King Kong. Why not? Throw it in there
You're Donkey Kong Asian. That's great.
with the
Great
tie
for you.
on. Yeah.
Okay, then we got Olivia Duong, Duong. Ooh, is that Viet? Duong?
Oh, yeah. Zung is Viet as fuck. That's Viet.
Sometimes I can tell if you're Viet because usually they have like Catholic first names. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's a very
Olivia.
Vietnamese thing.
That's a very like I have a lot of Italian friends that make Olivia because they're super Catholic. So,
Yeah,
gotcha.
There you go.
You're
There you go.
Vietnamese.
Yeah. Anthony's a good one. Sometimes Luke. Sometimes.
Ooh, I definitely know a Anthony Duong for sure.
Right. There's
Yeah.
no Jesuses though. Get a couple Jesus Nguyen's in there. Jesus Nguyen.
I don't know why they won't go there. Like that's the guy. Why are we like beating around the bush? Why are we teasing Catholicism?
That's the guy.
Yes.
Okay, go with the guy.
Jesus is the head of the penis. Just fucking
He's
put
the
your
head.
lips on it.
What a way to do it. What a way to do it. I apologize, Jesus.
Okay.
Continue.
Then we got Jason. This is an interesting one. Chuang, Chuang. That's like two Chinese names put together.
Wait, Chuang, Chuang.
It's probably
but
pronounced Chang.
not like there's no like hyphen or something.
There's
not
no
like
hyphen.
Chuang.
No. That'd be crazy if there was a hyphen, like divorced or like Asian parents who remarried or whatever and wanted to keep two last names. Is that how that
and
works?
keep two names.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I always think about how like complicated it is if you're like an Asian person and you marry another Asian person, but it's a different Asian person. So then like, cause like if I marry like. Not me, but like if
this happened
you
to
know
you,
what I'm saying?
You married a
that's
Korean
what I'm saying.
person.
Right?
Yeah.
But she can't be going around calling herself,
Right.
Nguyen.
No, because
then
that's mad
it'd be, like,
confusing.
confused.
That's
It's
so
confusing.
confusing.
It wouldn't make any sense. It would make any sense. So this person is a child of divorce, and she's broken home.
I'm so sorry about that, Jason. We hope you're doing well,
Jason.
man. Next we got Jennifer Ang, NG.
NG Chinese.
That's Chinese. Then we got
good
Stephanie
old Chinese
Stephanie
name.
Chen, Chen, another Chinese.
So many Chinese. I love
But you know what? She spells Stephanie with an F. That's got a little bit of an attitude. I'm gonna go and say that's rebellious, aka Taiwanese. Okay, you guys be rebelling. You guys are not about that cultural revolution.
Those guys be rebelling. They recently changed their what's it called? Their passport, so it doesn't say China.
I love that. What does it say? Just
So
Taiwan?
I think it just says Taiwan. It says the Republic of Taiwan, which is just so like I love it. Just like
love
that's
it.
like a little petty little thing. It's like don't call me by your last name, Mom. That's not my name. Yeah.
Okay, we got a couple more here. We got this one's confusing. Saj, Sajs. I think this is like an Indian name. Saj, like Raj, but Saj.
Saj.
S.
I want to. Yeah, it could be South Asian. You know, that's
I think
cool.
it's South Asian. I don't know. This could be like, I don't know. I don't know what's an Indian.
It's
S.
probably like Shinju Kumar. You know, like
Shinjuku Kumar. This is it's an Indian guy who had the baby in Shinjuku.
Yeah, yeah, but then also Kumar still. So that's what it means, because why not?
Okay, then we have Sheena Lu. I believe that is Chinese.
Chinese.
Then
I'm
we
gonna
got-
say China. Yeah.
Then we got Cornelia Ding. Ding. Ooh, Ding.
D-E. I'm sorry. What?
D-I-N-G, like ding dong. This sounds like
Ding.
this is like a made up Asian name by like a white person made this up kind of thing.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, dude. You know who this is? This is who's that lady who wrote Harry Potter?
Oh, this J.K. Rowling.
This is J.K. Rowling, actually.
This was it was Cho Chang or
Yeah,
Cornelia
yeah.
Ding, and she went with
Cornelia.
Cho Chang.
That also sounds kind of like a Harry Potter kind of name.
Yeah.
Cornelius Ching Chong. What of the great house of mandarins?
Yeah, she actually messaged us. Did you see her message? She had like a awakening listening to this podcast. She said,
What?
She said something like, growing up, I never wanted anything to do with Asian boys, but having listened to you guys, I wouldn't be mad if my Asian children became like you guys or something like that.
Well, now we ruined that because we just ding donged her name. But thank you for that.
She's gonna take away our donation.
She's gonna take away her Patreon money.
Okay, we love you, Cornelia. Thank you so much. And lastly, we have Nanette Coffee, Coffey.
Coffey. Well, this is just a good old American name.
I think it's like a British. Nanette sounds very British.
Nanette does sound very British.
I don't have any friends
Nanette
in coffee. Okay,
That's a cool name.
that's
I'm
a
gonna
pretty
say
cool name.
that you know what, this person might be from, but is from like the Caribbean.
Ooh,
Nanette's a little bit of British, a little bit of that, but then
one of
also
the British
a little
islands.
bit of one of the little
Oh my God.
former little colonies.
You are from Saint Lucia, I think.
Whoa,
that's-
man,
Hey.
so nice there. Hey, thanks.
Hey. Well, thank you guys so much for donating. And again, if you want to get on this, please go to patreon.com/Asian.AsianPod to hear your name on this podcast. Love you.